association been with Avid Learning?
Well, they invited me to be part of this very eclectic talk with some luminaries from the movie industry, and I'm glad that I was considered as part of the Kalagra Festival to come here and talk about this.
Admirer of what Avid is doing. So I'm completely prejudiced, and it's amazing that they got such an amazing audience because literally things get about 10 people. We had a great session.
My question, association. It's wonderful, brilliant that they're doing this kind of work. I would love to be more involved. Hopefully, maybe I can come as a student or something. Seriously, I'm quite serious. Very impressed. Very impressed.
Good evening everyone, and thank you for being with us here today. We begin the third session of the evening with a panel discussion titled Retro Bollywood with Rinki Bhattacharya, Satya Saran, Shantanu Moitra and Siddharth Bhatia in conversation. The session has been presented by Avid Learning. Avid Learning is a public programming platform of the SR Group set up in 2009. Our constant endeavor is to bring the best in Indian and international events in art, history and culture to you. We present to you Retro Bollywood, an evening of music and nostalgia, celebrating the greats of Hindi cinema, past and present, from Bimal Roy to S.D. Burman to our very own Shantanu Moitra. It will truly be a Suhana Safar.
Okay, so this is a session I'm sure all of you, but certainly me, I have been looking forward to, because not only our friends here, but these are people who have been singularly involved in their careers, in their professional life, in relation to a lot of things, but cultural history and cinematic history. And our own Shantanu Moitra, who's perhaps the, can I say that without sounding this, is the big draw here, has also written a book called On the Beginnings of Music. The book is about his travels, it's about ruminations, it's about his childhood, it's about various inspiring moments he's had. Some great anecdotes about the way a song was conceived and directed. His first major break with Parinita, but before that, was it before that Shubha's Ab Ke Sawan? All of us remember what a landmark song it was, where a classical singer was made to sing pop. Indie pop was also kind of emerging as a genre in those days. So, three exciting, and Rinki has written a book on her father, but specifically on Madhumati. Again, a landmark film, which she has delved deep into about the stories about how it got made. She's talked to all the dramatis personae. Satya's book is on S.D. Burman. Satya, if I may say so, and I read it, and I know you, a bit of a dreamy book also, about not, he was born here and all that. It delves into Sachinda's mind and comes up with stories about how he could have thought, and he may have thought about composing songs about his frustrations in the early days and his success. So, all looking forward to it. What I'm going to do is ask each one to just quickly describe a little bit about their book specifically, because after all this is part of the literature section. And then we'll take it from there and, trying to find connectivities and all that. Rinki?
The book came as a surprise to me.
Everyone here?
No. Please speak into
Mind actually, that's why I'm wondering.
Okay, so it's a very strange film to start with, because Bimal Roy is not known for a film of that genre. He's known for more for Dori Gazameen, Bandini, Sujata. I would like to say the film chose me. I mean, the film chose me to carry on talking about a journey which I didn't actually take with my father. So the book is about multiple journeys. You know, it's about my own journey, so the journey of the film, and within it, you know, lots of detailing about how it happened. There are lots of myths about Madhumati, which I realized while I was actually exploring the subject. So that's it.
And it took you quite some time because I remember you and I talking about this quite some years ago.
Yes, that's right.
Because you had to track down everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This journey seems to be there in the other two books also. Wouldn't you say yours is kind of an inner journey, Satya?
Yeah, it is. Is my mic on? Yeah. Well, it is because the reason I wrote this book in the way I did, I written it like one would write an historical novel on Akbar, for example, with little anecdotes and inner think thoughts, first-person letters, the works, is because there was already a book on S.D. Burman, and I said, what is one going to say that's different? A man is born, a man lives his life, succeeds or fails, and dies. And I had never met S.D. Burman, so the next best thing to do was to take all the information and make it readable for the younger generation by making it a happy, fun read. And in the process explaining how genius works, what the genius has to struggle, that it is finally 99% desperation, you know, and Shantanu, you will bear with me on that, I'm sure. So that's how the book turned out to be different.
Shantanu, your book has a lot of perspiration. You're climbing mountains, and that's a journey of a different kind. But why a book? Why did you think of it?
It's a good question. Why did I write a book? I wrote a book because I had no work. Every time a movie of mine does very well, strangely, for a substantial period of time, nobody gives me any work. And I was sitting with Gulzar and saying that, Raza bhi ho raha hai, what should I do? He said, you should do what I do. I said, what? He said, मुझे कोई गाने देता नहीं है, फिर किताब लिखता हूँ. So I wrote a book. That is exactly the reason why I wrote a book, because I just felt that my creative energies cannot just be based on somebody calling me for a movie and do a song, and non-film is not happening. So I need to express, and I guess where music fails, words happen. That's why I wrote the book on this.
This question first to both of you, and then I'll connect it. Satya and Vinky. Madhumati, what, 50 years ago? More than. S.D. Burman came to Bombay in the 40s and was almost leaving when Bazi happened, I recall. Why would today's audiences be interested at all in those books? Do you think they are interested when you set out to write this? Do you think that they would be interested at all? Well, those subjects.
You know, when I'm writing a book...
You know, I always find, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I always find that old films are reduced to two things. They are either reduced to myths, the mythology of Mother India. Nobody will actually see it, but there is a mythology around. And the second is clips from the songs that come on Sunday or other days. So why would anyone want to read a full book on a movie that's forgotten or that's old?
I want to answer this one by saying when I was watching a clip from Tere Mere Sapne, my little 6-year-old granddaughter was with me, and she said, I want to see this film, Mama. So I showed her the film. She saw it 6 times, Tere Mere Sapne, ended up singing 3 of the songs, humming them in her own manner, after all 6-year-old. And I hear S.D. Burman songs all the time. I mean, younger people sing in Pondicherry. There is, and in the south, there's this huge wave on S.D. Burman happening. I do not know why. Everybody is singing his songs. Everyone suddenly discovered it. Maybe because it runs close to the soil, and it therefore runs close to the ethos. So why not? Why not understand the man?
But in fact, Madhumati has songs which truly run close to the soil, because I think that ethos of that particular area, it's supposed to be what? Kulu Manali or Himachal?
No, it's
Garbal.
Kumaon.
Kumaon.
Below that.
Yeah, so it truly runs close to the soil. So do you find the same thing about the songs being still popular and the
Very much. Very much.
tremendous curiosity?
Yeah, of course. The songs of, These are words we use very frequently, like iconic, timeless. But Madhumati's songs, really, I mean, you just cannot believe how popular. I'm amazed at the popularity. I hear it every day on the radio. Some channel are always playing these songs. And I want to add something very interesting which I discovered just 2 weeks back. I had a small little concert on my father on his death anniversary, and we had this song, Vichua. While hearing the song sung by young this thing, I said, this is the closest my father came to an item number. The body language Vaijayanti Ji's and the music and the words, it's so erotic. Vichua,
The words are definitely suggestive.
Absolutely. So I said, this is the closest Bimal Roy came to item. So I rediscovered something. Listening to that song.
Thank God he didn't know the word item.
No. Shantanu, I think this immediately throws this question on you. Are you burdened with that entire legacy, that heritage? And are you burdened with the idea that somewhere you have to meet standards because your work stands out by itself? So does it matter at all?
It is a burden, it's a pleasant burden. Right from Parinita to Munnabai to Three Idiots to PK, every time the director seems to somehow stop at Madhumati saying, "Yaar, ek वैसा कुछ गाना कर दे." So it's scary, but it's also wonderful that when I sit and hear conversations like this, I think the divide is often in our heads about then and now. When somebody wants to create, at that moment he wants the best and the purest and the most genius. And what can you do? We had some great geniuses called Sahil Chaudhary and S.D. Burman. And that's always a reference point for people like us who are working today.
Give us one example.
Three Idiots, opening montage, cars going, and the brief given to me was, give us a song on Search, genre being S.D. Burman meets Salmon and Garfunkel. So the thing that I've learned in advertising is you don't listen to what somebody's saying, you need to infer what he's saying. Because if I listen to what he's saying, I'll be in deep trouble. So you're searching, you're kind of getting deep in your brain space and scrolling through the hard disk. And the thing was at that time, for example, S.D. Burman, "Sun mere bandhu re," this call is cinematic. This is the starting of Behti Hawa Satamukhi Patam Sir. I'm constantly using that as a reference. I cannot do without that reference. And so that is how I am inferring with them. And thank God I have those as references, otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah, and we'll be singing also very soon because now you've given us.
Just one point.
Yeah.
Numbers of
No, by the way, I realized that that's the title of your book also, as it happens. Yeah, please go ahead.
No, I was just saying that all Chantanu's item numbers have a certain quality that really sets them apart. It's not the item number that you expected, which has got a little bit of double meaning. There is always in his songs a philosophy that comes across, in the words at least.
As Vidhu Chopra tells me, Yara, you're caught in a time warp. That's how it is with me.
Yeah, I think that's a very pleasant feeling sometimes in today's world. But again, another connectivity, Pinky, your father made the first Parinita. And Parinita, to me, the new one, was the mood of the moment, the 60s, was picked up so well in all the songs, not only the nightclub song, but even the piano song and all that, You Bolo. What did you think of what was done to Parinita today?
I don't think that's a fair question.
Oh, that's a very fair question.
No, it's not. I mean, every artist has a right to reinterpret the classic. I love my father's Parinita, and according to Shyam Benegal, Parinita is my father's most complete film. This is from the first frame to the last. That he can't fault that. It's got a stature. I saw Parinita with an open mind. I knew Parinita. I had problems with it. It's the hook in the end, the breaking of the wall, that was a bit, in the face. But it's charming in its own way. Absolutely charming.
Okay, well, movie criticism apart, Shantanu, did that again to bring in that theme? Did all that play into your mind that there was a certain film with a certain musical twist?
It was a great reference. 1950s, Sarat Chandra, Calcutta. These are classic for a creator. These are great props. So I think what I just had to do was, and I keep on saying everywhere that we're all schizophrenic, and somewhere I became that. Fortunately, being a Bengali, I know that flavor, I know that ras. But having said that, what baffles me really is that why can't, after Parinita, why couldn't there be more classics being reinvented? I have no idea. Because I know the young generation, they really got to know so much about this classic novel, this classic movie, thanks to this new interpretation. I don't know why that doesn't happen. Why does every director have to constantly write his own story? This land of unbelievable literature, why can't we rediscover it and use that in cinema? I don't know. It really baffles me.
Now, coming to your latest venture, PK, okay? That subject must have presented itself with some problems because it's a very alien concept, literally. How did you weave in musical themes into the story? And you can sing and tell us.
It was a tough film. You can't come up with a melody when Amir Khan is looking like that. So it's tough. But I guess, see, I'll give you a case in point, so you'll know how we need to wheel and deal also in a film, which was in that particular song, which was the love song between Anushka in Belgium. In my head, I had to have a classic. And I sat down with Rajkumar Hirani and said, this is a great opportunity to do a love song. Because love songs don't happen anymore. I mean, they happen, but they're not picturized. A filmmaker is almost apologetic to use that as a one or two lines somewhere behind, and then a bus will come and kill it, and we'll get the real action. So that's the world we're living in. And I said, Raju, why don't we sit down, let's study some old classics. And that's again, Madhumati happened. We also saw Silsila. Specifically Silsila because here the camera is just following Amitabh Bachchan and Rekha, that's it. And there's a song happening, but you can work out the chemistry, you know there is love happening. You don't have to jump cut, you don't have to do fast editing, you don't have to do histrionics, you just out with it. And I think that concept was something which Raju was looking for also. And then I introduced waltz. And waltz for me is one of the great love song rhythms when it comes to, because it just is something very soothing about the waltz and some of the greatest songs.
And elegant.
Something very, and here we don't see them, being extremely boisterous about their, there's a sense of regality, there is poise, yet there is a beautiful chemistry. And therefore, that line, बिन पूछे तेरा नाम और पता रस्मों को रखी परे चार कदम बस चार कदम चल दो ना साथ मेरे. And from here I introduce the words बिन कुछ कहे हाथों में हाथ ये. Now this is any time. Take 50 years back, 60 years back, 40 years back. You could take O.P. Nayyar, you could take Salil Chaudhary, S.D. Burman. It's as if this melody could have happened then also. The trick is to put in today's clothes, give it. But you take away all that. This is a melody which is not time specific. It's sensibility specific. And I think that is what is toughest for a creator today, to make music which is sensibility specific. That's a struggle, but I try.
Now, this reminds me of something, and that is that the waltz actually became almost the property of Shankar Jaikishan over the years. So, right from the earliest films they made to Mera Naam Joker, Jina Yahan Manna Yahan, to even just before that he made a film, I think they made a film called Kalaj or Kal, if I'm not mistaken. Bhavane Ki Gunjan Hai Mera. So they were the masters of the waltz. And the waltz was always supposed to signify grace. So I find that interesting because in this current mayhem, and I mean I don't want to sound, but in the current kind of climate of lots of electronica and lots of fast moving beats and all that, a waltz, incidentally S.D. Burman I don't think ever did a waltz, did he? Hum Aapki Aankhon Mein, that's right. So he did one in Pyasa, but I mean I shouldn't have said that. I don't think there's any genre that S.D. Burman
Didn't do, exactly.
yeah. By the way, he was a master.
Yes.
He was
Swing.
a master of.
It's very close.
He was a master of.
That particular song was a swing, not a waltz.
Okay.
Yeah, the beat is
One,
different.
two, one, two,
Yeah, the beat is
But
different.
by the way, they are both in formal clothes and dancing around. By the way, S.D. Burman was a master of the item song of the times, if you remember. So tell us a story about unusual S.D. Burman song.
Actually, I would like to talk about the song in Guide, where it's not an item song, it's that Mose Chal Kiye Ja, because that is a song which everybody loves, and the fact that he was given this challenge by Vijay Anand, that I want one song followed by another song. And obviously it threw him completely. He says, which audience is going to sit and listen to two songs following one after the other? Because most often they go out for cigarettes when one song comes. They can't smoke two cigarettes. So they probably go home. So he started worrying about this. And finally he hit upon this idea, and I have given it a fictional way of how he hit upon this idea, that he looked at a reflection of himself in on a window pane and said, this is me and this is me, and yet there's a difference. And that's how he said, let me use the same notes, but let me change it a little here, a little there, and it becomes Lata's song followed by Rafi's song. And there are people who don't even realize it's the same song being sung. Just the meter is different. I don't want to use technical words with Shantanu here. I won't get away with it.
You're doing fine without technical.
But that's what he
It might
did.
help to read out, recall the first lines.
Yeah, that Mose Chal Kiye Jaye Saiya Beiman, and Rafi sings Kya Se Kya Ho Gaya in a much softer, slower pace. And the songs, and this is a dance where she is expressing anger, disappointment, the end of all her trust in him, and he is looking at her saying, you are the one who's betraying me because you don't trust me anymore. And it comes through. It's a very, very poignant 8 minutes of music, and S.D. Burman held it on his own.
I think you mentioned Bridge on the River Kwai in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always found that story very, very interesting, how he composed the song out of Bridge on the River.
In fact, he had watched the film, and R.D. was humming the tune. He kept on humming the tune while they were coming back, and he says from that he took something out and created another number altogether.
Ye Dil Na Hota
Ye Dil
Bechara,
Na Hota
because
Bechara.
that's got the same kind of beat.
Which incidentally got rejected and was used much later in Jewel Thief.
Rinki, you've got stories about your father's selection of music. I think you must have a lot of stories. He was actually, all his films were known for fantastic and well-positioned music.
And well treated, well picturized.
Well-treated music.
Yes,
That's
yes.
the other thing. I mean, Suhana Safar and Madhumati straight away tells you the mood of the man, that he's come to a new place and all that kind of thing. And as you said, that sexy erotic song, this one.
Even Julmi
Vishwa.
Sang is also a very, very erotic song.
Yeah.
If you hear
Any
the
story that you
lyrics
would like to
there.
tell us specifically, not necessarily about Madhumati, but any other film?
No, I'll stick to Madhumati because we are talking about our books. You've read the book, right? So you know that Salil Chaudhary was almost not taken because there was a lot of lobbying. Everybody thought that he's finally going to make a formula film. There is a villain, there's a hero, heroine, a beautiful location, a love story, plus reincarnation, or ghost, everything. And they said, Salil Da is a flop music composer. so we should not take him. And also Shailendra and Shalil always work together. So both were going to be shot down by business interest. So what my father did was quietly he went and signed Shalil Kaka, and so that's how he came to use him. And that one film, Madhumati, established Shalil Chowdhury here forever. After that, he got 19, he signed 19 films at the same, in the same period at that time. So that was very interesting, I thought. And how, those days people used to just drive up to Khandala, just, to one of the places film people chose to visit, relax. So one day Shailendra and Shalila went to Khandala, and they were standing on the hilltop, and he heard a goat herd, doing that sound with which the song begins. I mean, Shantanu can sing the song, I think. We can request Shantanu to sing Suhana Chaparapit, the beginning of the song.
And there's a cowbell.
Yes, that.
It's amazing, and Salita was there during the. I'm sorry, I just want to put this point there. Those were the times. And it's important to say that everything was not great about those times. And I'm not out here to there and now. The thing which was amazing is passion. A music director now does not even step out of his recording studio. Salita was there at the shooting. While shooting was happening, he was recording cowbells, he was using wind sounds, gurgles, water, brooks. And this is not computer technology. He was using all these sounds as part of his film score. And I think the genius of Bimal Roy was really, and I believe in my heart, and I've not even asked Rinkidi about this, that I have a feeling if Bimal was not making films, he would have been playing the sitar, or he would have been part of music. Such an incredible musical brain. He would sit down with a song and think, this is the interlude, these are the instruments playing, these are the number of bars, what can I do with the character and where can I place it? Unbelievable. This is the beginning. This instrument is playing. I can't have a wide angle. Let me do a close-up. Or I'm having a floaty flute sound. Let's go wide angle. This thinking, this constant juxtaposition between sound and camera lensing, it's unheard of. And I wish the film schools today would use that as a kind of a dictum and teach today's directors how to conceive visual with audio. Today we are suffering and having all these conversations because that music department is missing from the curriculum. And that's why I think Bimal Roy was such a genius.
In fact, I was going to ask you that, but you preempted me. Often I see a song and it's cut to beat. So beat is taken over melody. Would you say that?
That's nothing to do with film. That's an overall thing which has happened. There's a huge study happening on this. It's really what is to happen is that technology was such, and for the audience, it'll be very interesting for you to know. This was mono recording, so there was one microphone, and everybody was playing together, and the percussionist would be right at the end of the room.
Yes.
So the emphasis was on vocals, emphasis was on the string section, emphasis on the lead instruments. The rhythm was there just to give it support. Now what happens when you're listening as an oral exercise? When you hear a song and you feel the tempo but you don't hear the tempo, you actually interact much more. You feel it because the melody is prompting you towards that kind of rhythmic structure. But if that was ding tak ding tak, you don't need to do that anymore. You're not reacting anymore. So lack of technology was the biggest boon because you were not listening to rhythms at all. You could feel it somewhere behind. As the technology kept on changing, more microphones, more tracks, some wonderful things happened. But what happened is the rhythm became so upfront that today literature does not have a chance at all, the spoken word, lyrics, because the beat is right up there. And there's an incredible study in UCLA which says that rhythm always was about life. It's a rhythm of life. Now it's so upfront that you don't need to think about life anymore. You just listen to it and you move on. You don't interact anymore. So just to answer your question, I think that was what's happening.
Yeah, but I'm going to be a little provocative and ask you, is that also done to make it ringtone friendly?
That is, of course, the collapse of, you don't understand the economy. And I last time, I think when Rinki's book was being launched, and I was there and I talked about it, and that time it seemed a joke, but trust me, when I create a song, I'm primarily doing it for a ringtone. It is, who buys CDs anymore? That legacy is over. It's on our internet, somewhere chopped, spliced. Gone is the time when you listen to a song and that is the right representation of what the creator wanted it. You don't know what the creator wanted because there are 5 layers who have done various things to it. And the laws and the copyrights of this country is such that I have no control over my creation. So to answer your question, I have to ensure that my mukhda ends in 30 seconds. So, पिया तो से नैना लागेगा रिंगटोन बन ही नहीं सकता. वो तो फर्स्ट लाइन आता ही नहीं है. And thank God.
How would S.D. Burman have coped with it?
Well, he managed everything. I mean, he sounded 16 when he was 80, so he would have done 20 ringtones. All ringtones would have been his.
No, the reason I mentioned earlier about his love for that item song is, unfortunately, and I know you've tried to dispel that, but unfortunately, many of these greats that we think about today are known for, say, 15 or 20 famous songs, which are usually full of melody, harmony, a little bit of beat. But if you dig deeper, you find with everybody, in Jewel Team, for example, there is a song.
Raat Akeli hai.
Sorry?
Go on.
By Tanuja.
Raat Akeli hai.
Raat Akeli.
What a song.
What a song.
Now, that
Fantastic.
would stand any test of time.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
yet, because the first 2 or 3 are so good, that this somewhere gets languished in a B list, so to speak. And there must be so many other songs.
Absolutely, absolutely. But one incident I want to tell you about is again in Guide, where there was a song without words, which he was asked to compose. And he was given this entire scenario that this is Wahida and she is going to dance for the first time. She's gone out with Raju, she's had a fight with her husband, and we want you to create that whole song without words. And obviously he was very worried, it's in his autobiography and I have borrowed from there, that he was very worried that because he believed in the word, he believed that it had to be word heavy, his songs. And he said, how am I going to do this? But then he spoke to his musicians and he got in, instead of his usual 7 or 8 or 3 instruments, he got in 5 percussion instruments, 7 string instruments, you name it, they were all there. And he said, now we are going to create moods. The tempo has to grow from joy to disappointment to anger because she remembers her husband, to freedom because she is able to dance, to understanding I have to go back to that horrid man again. And that 8-minute sequence has just instruments. And he says at the end of it, and Wahida also has gone on record saying that at the end of it, it was amazing because she says, in doing that dance, I stopped being Wahida, I became Rosie. And that's where the entire film turned.
But may I just give a slight anecdote, which is a filmic anecdote, and fits in with what Shantanu said about cutting.
Yeah.
Those who remember Guide or go back to it, you should go back tonight maybe and have a look at this on YouTube. There's a great song in that, Tere Mere Sapne. And Tere Mere Sapne really is the transition. She has finally left the man and he's assuring her that our life is going to be much better, but she's doubtful. That song has only 2 cuts. It was shot at 4:30 in the morning, and if you see, it's dusk dawn. They had to finish the entire song or that portion within 8 minutes because dawn would become sunlight, except that they had to do it over 3 days. They didn't have 3 days, so Vijay Anand cheated and did 2 sunrises and 1 sunset. and just turn them around. But you see the entire song, can you imagine how delicate that moment would have been? A few minutes, you go wrong and things go wrong. So this is how cutting was done.
I was just thinking in my head that today it seems almost impossible because an actor has to get early in the morning. So you're going to shoot against a green screen and put a sunrise and a sunset.
Shantanu, you better make sure this doesn't get recorded and put on YouTube.
There's no problem.
Ringgit, you have any kind of stories about a song being done? Any specific?
Song being
You could-
sung.
Yeah, song being composed by Bimal Roy in this or any other film.
You know, I would like to mention the entire background score of Madhumati, which I wish was available. It's absolutely.
Why is it not available?
It's not. I mean, they should have kept it
Because
as.
we don't have a culture of background.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
And he was the master of background music.
Absolutely, you know, and I think that should have been part of the musical, legacy that we have. Unless you see the film, you don't hear the background music. It's one of the outstanding assets of the film, the background music. It's superb. I mean, there's no word for it but being superb. Also, of course, very few people know. I would like the audience to guess who gave the background score for Devdas. Do you know? Siddharth, do you know?
Salil Chaudhary.
Yes. It's not recorded.
No, but he gave the background music for scores of films.
No, but S.D. Burman
I can't do it.
was the composer, and he gave it on the assurance that his name would not be mentioned in the credits. Look at the greatness of Salil Chaudhary. I mean, the rapport they had. In fact, during the recording of Suhana Safar, S.D. Burman was present, and it was his suggestion where that bird call would come. It was he who suggested that Salil put it here in the beginning. You know, so this kind of, they worked, great, solidarity and respect for each other's work, no ego hassles. It was amazing the way they worked. Amazing, absolutely.
Does this work?
In fact, can I add there that two things that in my notes I have this, that Madhumati went to S.D. Burman and he said, look, Salilda did such a great job with the background score of Devdas that I think he will do this theme a better, much more justice than I will. And even for Hum Dono, he did that with Jaydev, and you've done now Ketan, so you know that. But I have a story on Bandhini, with your permission.
Sure.
That Gulzar Sahab shared this story, that when Gulzar wrote Mora Gora Ang Laile, there was a battle between S.D. Burman, who was famous for his battles, and Bimal Roy, because Bimal Roy had decided where he was going to shoot that song, inside the house. And S.D. said, no, it has to be outside. So Bimal Roy said, but she's a girl, how can she go outside and sing? So S.D. said, but she's singing a love song, how can she sing inside in front of her father? So he said, no, our girls don't go out and sing. He said, then I don't compose. So finally he had his way, he sent her out. And that is how Gulzar also got the moon into it and said, moon is looking at me and Mora Gora Angalele. So the whole thing worked out because of that one battle on where the song would be sung.
But our girls don't go out sound so quaint today. So, Shantanu,
I just want to add to what Satya said. It's interesting that these people we're talking about, these greats, they had a very, very astute cinematic brain. It's not just music. They were not just musicians. Their craft was honed at that particular point for cinema. You have to keep in mind, they were also brilliant in non-film. They were doing some amazing work outside the film fraternity. But I'm just talking about the film stuff. Let's give you a small example. Teen Devyam. The situation is that Devanand opens the window and the other window opens and a song has to start. And typically a song starts with a prelude, with a sitar or flute, something. And S.D. Burman said that if by the time they open the windows and a prelude starts happening, the character has lost interest, he'll go inside. You need to come to the point straight away. And so probably the first time a song started without any prelude, the doors opened, crack, crack, aise to na dekho, and the music entered. See, this comes from the music director. The logic that let us do something where I can pull this off because it's not unrealistic. I think that is an amazing thing. We don't often forget that part. We just talk about the music directors as music directors. No, they were extremely cinematic. They were extremely astute. They were extremely well versed with the craft of filmmaking. And you have to keep in mind, especially Bimal Roy was working, apart from a genius called Salil Chaudhary, probably one of the greatest screenplay writers this country had ever seen. Salil Chaudhary.
And yeah,
Do Bighas Zameen.
Do Bighas Zameen. But this was written by Hrithik Ghatt.
Yeah, I'm just saying that he was dealing with these kind of, the quality of music composers was this, the great writers, cinematic angles, all that.
How much input do you give in the filming or in the creation of the mood?
Unfortunately, that's why I do less films, that when I'm working with friends, and that's a very important point, friends out here, is that they were friends. There was Adda, there was Durga Puja, there was Ghar Mein Aaja, let's have food. And in the process, because I think they knew that, as I keep on saying, music does not happen by appointment. Let's meet at 10:30 tomorrow and we'll do a song. It doesn't work. You're traveling somewhere in a car, something, some guy's playing with a steel ka thali. अरे एक धुन, एक आइडिया, एक आजकल पाँव ज़मीन पर नहीं पड़ते मेरे गाड़ी जाते जाते. These are the instantaneous moments, spontaneous moments. You can't do something like, you know what, I got just 1 hour left, can we just quickly finish the last 4 lines? It doesn't work like that. So I think that friends fraternity, I've tried to imbibe what little I can. You know, for example, in Parinita, this particular incident I talked about, Teen Devi, it's so well entrenched in my brain, this whole idea of starting with a conversation, that I use that in Pio Bole. So when, and whilst I was playing, she said, "Kya naya dhun hai kya?" I said, "हाँ." कहते words, lyrics, words, and she says, "कभी तो बनाया नहीं, कुछ बनाओ ना." And just when the piano ends, she enters. पियू बोले, पिया बोले, क्या ये बोले जानू ना. I could have started the song straight away from Piyu Bole, Piya Bole. But if I didn't take the story cinematically, and when we hear the song, it's so logical that the song didn't start straight away with the words. Like in Tindeja, there was a story. Maybe it's my story, nobody understands. But it was such an important part to have that story. Thank God the director understood that and allowed me that to happen.
Yeah, actually, interesting you should say that they all used to sit together. Because as you know, S.D. Burman was the in-house music director for Devanand, for all of Navkirtan. And the team right from Bazi was Devanand was the actor. The directors kept changing as, you know, Guru Dutt was the first director, Chetan Anand, etc. S.D. Burman was permanent music director and Sahil Ludhianvi was the permanent songwriter. Somewhere, Sahil Ludhianvi, an eccentric man that he was, and S.D. Burman, who was an even more royal, regally eccentric man, clashed. Because Sahil said very clearly, मेरे गाने के बगैर तुम्हारा म्यूजिक चल गया.
₹1 ज़्यादा चाहिए.
₹1 मुझे ज़्यादा देना ही पड़ेगा. S.D. Burman said, you go to hell, without my this music, it can never work. So they fought. And the crunch came in 9-11. And S.D. Burman said, I'm not going to work with this man. And Sahil Ludhianvi, who was best friend with Devanand, said, I can't work with this man. Unfortunately, Sahil had to. And they only came back once more in Pyasa. And not for enough Ketan. Because Pyasa, Guru Dutt managed to convince both of them. It's too big a film for either of them to turn down. But till then, and after that, Majroo Sultanpuri. So, this constant sitting around and all that, and you see scores of photographs of all of them sitting and basically looking quite relaxed and languid, and you can just imagine Pan coming in, and you can just imagine food coming in. You have sorry, Satya. I want to ask
yeah,
Rinki later
ask
about
her
something.
first.
Rinki, you have memories of people coming in and out?
My father never worked at home.
No?
No, which I mentioned in my book. The only time there was a script session was once for Madhumati, which I discovered, you know, because Dilip Kumar came in to the house, you know, and we were all like completely in love with him, all of us, everybody, the entire generation. So for us, it was a high point in my life, and I was just, you know, about turning 16 or something. but he worked at, in the studios. And there was, my father has been called a conference-oriented man. He would ask, like, for example, what should be the end of Bandini? Whether, you know, she should, Bandini. There was a lot of discussion on whether she should marry Dharmendra's character, the doctor, or she should go off with Ashok Kumar. And all this was a result of huge discussion, hour after hour. You know, they would thrash it out and then arrive at something. You know, and my father always worked with a bound script, so that was also an advantage. You know, he would make whatever changes, minimal changes, maybe sometimes on the set, but there was immense amount of faith in each other, and you know, the way they worked very democratically. Everyone's opinion was taken. So you know, there was that would be the adda. They would play carom after the end of the shooting.
Yeah, so somewhere this was
absolutely. There was, you know, Saraswati Puja for the first time in Bombay. My father organized Saraswati Puja. So cultural events. I've had Sitara Devi dance, you know, at those places. So it was a wonderful, you know, very comfortable environment in which to work.
Sorry, you were saying something.
I was saying that when you said that it was Sahir who had to leave, Devanand, when he wanted to do Prem Pujari, he wanted to have a new writer, and he got Neeraj in, and he told Neeraj, we are going to ask you to, you are going to listen to the theme, understand the song and write it, and then we will see what SD says. If he likes it, you continue, otherwise here's your ticket. I've already bought your ticket, you will have to go back to Allahabad or Lucknow or wherever he came from. So I think that was an important aspect. That
Well, he waited for SD to get better before
yeah,
to guide.
before doing guide. Yeah.
There's also a very interesting thing which was happening that time, specifically for the Bengali music directors and films. And it's a very interesting time, because most of these great songs that we are talking about, 90% of them were Bengali songs, because of a concept called the Pujo Shankar Special, which was, this was the time when in Calcutta during Durga Puja, the artist, be it a singer, be it a lyricist, be it a composer, was supposed to give an offering to the goddess with that creation. And that was the moment that everybody would wait for. And it was very interesting that all these greats we're talking about would at that time, 2 months before Durga Puja, create these songs and release it. So there was S.D. Burman, there was Anil Biswas, there was Salil Chaudhary. And it so happened that the directors of these great films, who were also Bengalis, used that as a test market.
Yeah.
And they would say, Acha, this guy, Chande bande garene nishite, tumi to diyecho choya, phoolon ke rang se, dil ki kasam se, bashi shune yaar kaaj nai, she jeta ka diya bashi, ni churai, constantly. And it made easy, you have to understand, from the director's point of view, to say that, you know, this song is working for me. There was only one recording label. There were no copyright issues. Let's adapt this to now Hindi.
Yeah.
RD did a lot of that.
RD, Salil Chaudhary.
All of them did
Ek ke baad, ek ke baad, ek ke baad. So, I think that was a very healthy practice.
Yeah.
This whole idea of test market, which is now almost like, you know, you feel that these MBAs with the ties are sitting and doing that. It naturally was happening there. But the genius of these guys was such that when they were doing the Hindi, you could never make out that there was a Bengali hangover out of that. It was completely different. You hear Phulo Ke Rang Se, you would never think that it's a Bengali song. So I think that was an amazing exercise, because the director could imagine, okay, this is a song I like, this goes with my film, let's try this, let's try this. So I think it made it easier. That's why so many of these great songs were working.
But believe it or not, we've been talking for quite some time. I'm going to give everyone a kind of final story to tell, so that then the audience can also participate later on. I leave the final story to you, something that is quite a highlight of your memory of writing the book, the song you've composed, something interesting.
For me, the high point was going on this trip to discover the location of Madhumati. We all heard that
You
it
didn't
was...
know which one it was.
No, we grew up hearing that it was shot in Nainital, Mukteshwar. It was not. When I actually went there, I discovered it was shot in Bhavali and Ghorakhal. In fact, I met a very eminent doctor in front of whose house the shooting took place. And she was a girl of 16 or 17, madly in love with Dilip Kumar. So she heard that Dilip Kumar is shooting outside her house, and she created gossip by running out without a dupatta. She's from a very orthodox Muslim family, Dr. Razia Hussain. She came for my book launch that day. So, you know, all these myths started getting broken, and I discovered people who have actually seen the shooting, been there, you know, recollected that people were hanging from the trees to watch the shooting, where it took place. So it was an amazing trip. If I had not done that, had I gone after I wrote the book, it would have been completely out.
That would have been disappointing.
Absolutely disappointing. So that made my book. You know, that trip was very important for me to take, and I did that.
That's really lovely.
Absolutely.
You incorporated that and
Absolutely.
made your
Yes,
story.
yes, yeah.
Satya?
I think mine was an internal journey because, as I said, I had not met S.D. Burman, but I knew his songs. And what happened to me in the process of trying to be S.D. Burman and understanding him was that I went back to my own roots. I have grown up in Calcutta, I have grown up in Assam, I've spent all my school and early college years there. So along with him, I was walking those, you know, paths, mud paths. I was wandering in the fields. I was catching dragonflies. And it made me feel as if I was no longer in a city. I was back in the mountains, you know, with the Kamakya mountain there, or the, you know, Howrah Bridge down there. I used to go to school along the Brahmaputra. So it was like when he talked about the rivers, I was in the river. So I think it was a great, great feeling. And at some point my family said, "Where are you?" Because I wasn't there. I was somewhere else while writing the book, and I think that was
That's
an
what I
amazing.
meant. I think that feeds into your writing.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a dreamy, otherworldly kind
Yeah,
of
it just took me out of myself. I was not me.
Shantanu?
My book, On the Wings of Music, is really about India. It's people who I really admire. And the reason why I wrote the book was I'm tired of the headlines about rape, murder, politics. And I've traveled so much. This is not the India that I've seen. I've seen an incredible India. And so to sum it up for really me, when I was doing Parinita and when I was doing the songs, and this middle class Bengali boy coming from Delhi, all that I heard was कि यार ये गाने नहीं चलने वाले हैं, ये ऐसे slow वाले गाने नहीं चलते. And it happened, thankfully, for a group of people who believed in me. It happened. And I also always used to wonder कि यार celebrity कैसे बनते हैं यहाँ पे? बॉम्बे तो आ गए, picture भी मिल गया, बनने कैसे? So I think for me, the culmination was that one day my mother called me up, and typically in movies it takes time for you to realize that somebody is appreciating your songs. It happens when you're doing the next film. When I was doing Munna Bhai, they told me, "Yaar, ये परिणीता के गाने बड़े अच्छे थे. Try करना है ऐसे." Then you realize that परिणीता they like, otherwise you don't like. So my mother called me up saying that the fish guy, जो मछली बेचने आता है every day to our house, today didn't take money for fish. And I said, why? He said, he loved your Parinita songs. That day I knew I became a celebrity. Thank you.
How sweet.
Questions? Please make them questions. You want this?
Yeah.
Yeah, take this. Just make them questions because everyone will then get an opportunity.
This is to Satya, because in your book released at GSW at Bandra, you had all the stalwarts like Gulzar ji, Shivkumar Sharma. But something Gulzar told about Dada's habit of eating pan, because Siddharth also mentioned about pan. So how Dada used to come all the way to back Channi Road and go back in his this. But also another important thing he said about 100 rupees he came and gave it to Sharma, because that is where. The other thing about Rinki ji, because Rinki ji, I've been reading about her writing in midday days. So, but there is a song which is in Madhumati, which is a sad song. Toote Hue. That's if you can tell us something about it.
If you
you can sing it for us.
I don't know anything particularly about that song, because we were kept away from my father's professional life. We hardly attended shooting or recording unless it was, a very rare occasion. So I'm afraid I can't tell you much about the song. But, as I said, Madhumati was structured completely within the so-called successful formula theory. So there was a sad song, there was dances. It's the only film where there are 11 songs in my father's film. No other film has so many songs. So, there had to be a sad song, so there was a sad song. And a sad moment here.
Can I give you a quick story about that song? I was in school and I had my first crush on my teacher. And she went back to Kottayam. And I sat under the bed and sang this song.
Which one?
Toote Hue Khwabon Ne.
Somebody else?
My question is to Shantanu. You already referred to it. Today is a cold and calculating era. MBAs, as you said, number crunching. I wanted to know how you, and you mentioned Raju Irani, can bring back the Friends/Adda era. Are you all consciously trying to do that?
That's the only way I can work, and that's the only way I can survive. And the reason why I left my corporate job was to enjoy what I do. And if I started number crunching there, I was great at Citibank. I didn't have to leave that. So the point here is that we all have to find our own path. And we keep on saying then and now. And I know, I've talked to many of them, it was not easy then. Because then they were being given examples of 10 to -1. It keeps on going. Every generation faces it, every generation deals with it. You have to survive out of it, come out your best. You have your set of values, set of ethics, and the choices are yours. And my choice is that I have to have Adda while creating music.
Namaskar. My question is also to Mr. Shantanu. She is simply criticizing the current trend in music and picture and all. Everybody knows this. That is not a solution. But how can we revert back to our golden stages? What will be our efforts, individual efforts towards that end?
I think it's already happening. For example, when I hear a song called Ma from Tare Zameen Par, it's fantastic. It stands the test of time in any era. The question is not that. The question is that the platform for expression is getting a little wobbly. Where do you listen to music? It's a concentrated effort. Every era goes through that depth. We are going through that depth where there's no form of expression. There's no dearth of talent, mind you. There's a huge amount of talent, but it's not getting that expression. It just is one of the possible. I think it's like pollution. We need to do something about it. Only then it will happen. We can't be blind eye. It's also a passing phase that a song is used just as 2 lines as part of a score or a background score or on an end scroll. A time will come when they realize that we need this character to say something to a girl which is musical. Otherwise, it's getting bland. It's all passing phase. We don't do anything. We just need to continue believing what we're doing it. We simply can't stop saying, that is the trend, so let's do that. If we constantly start changing our styles to according to trends, you will never come to ground zero.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
That was great. And by the way, I had to bring this to a halt, but time was passing. But I didn't realize that we had spoken so much because it was moving really back and forth so well. And the connections that I had hoped would come out have come out. So thank you, all of you, Shantanu, Satya, Rinki.
How do you feel that a panel discussion like this would influence or impact budding writers or new audiences?
Discussions are always very important. Conversations, discussions, exchange of ideas. That's when things were formed. When I was growing up, I used to miss this. I didn't know how to talk to somebody. What were they thinking? I could just see their work on cinema. But what was the thought behind it, the fun was happening. So I think it's fantastic for people who are studying up their lives and careers. It's great to know what the behind the scene thinking is.
And what is your advice to budding writers?
Just right. Take care.
How do you feel about being part of the literature workshop of the Kala Ghoda Arts Festival?
Absolutely, it really opened up, opened our work.
And then they jammed up.
Happens to remain.
I saw that jam. That was the last jam. Now the
niche work.
as far as we know.
So these are the kind of platforms.
How do you feel about being associated with a panel like this and how it influences outsiders? If I,
I hope it does influence. I mean, we're not looking to influence, but at least it should be like I got some good feedback from some of the audience. Really interesting. I need this interaction. Space to meet up with, as a writer, I'm sitting with your voice and writing, and meet your audience and read it. It's very, very good.
And what would your advice be to budding writers?
Budding writers, well, continue to write.
This was very nice.
Thank you. How do you feel about literature workshops influencing the newer generation or the youth of today, or do you see it playing a role?
I think that's very necessary because children don't read as much, and the magic of words is waiting to be discovered. And this is one way through the year if you can get them to use their eyes and read, or at least listen to an audiobook and understand the magic that words can do. I think it's a great, great step.
What would your advice be to budding writers?
Keep reading.
Writer.
Literature workshops.
No, I'm asked this question over and over again, and I have only one word answer: write. People say I want to write, but they dream. That doesn't work. You have to sit and write, and then throw it into the waste paper basket, and look at it, and then write, and throw it, and write. But if you don't write, a publisher is going to say, great idea, you're writing. You have to write, and you have to learn to write so that it gets better and better and better.
And finally, how do you feel like a panel like this will influence outsiders or other people who are outsiders or new audiences? How do you feel, what role do you think that a panel like this?
Well, I could see that there was a lot of sense of wanting to know more. This was a superb audience that came. And it influences people to think in terms of creativity of various kinds, whether writing or composing music. It also, very important, is it convinces them and gives them ideas about researching our own history. A couple of the books here were about our own history. So it was a very inspirational kind of.
Thank you so much. Thanks.